The ruling Nepal Communist Party has announced that the party integration process, which mainly revolved around the assigning of district in charge and their deputies, has been completed. The ruling party's integration process was one of the most closely watched political events in recent time, as there were reports of misunderstandings between the two factions of the Nepal Communist Party. However, with the leadership now claiming of a successful intra-power sharing deal, any kind of misgivings seems averted for the time being. Good morning, I am Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. The ruling Nepal Communist Party claims of finalizing the party integration. An official announcement of the deal to be made on the 21st of July coming Sunday. Some 24 national and international non-government organizations in Nepal found operating cooperatives to earn profit, which is against the very norms of the social sector. The status of the economy and development sectors portrays a dismal picture of how the government has failed to fulfill its goals set for the 2075-76 fiscal year. And Nepalese swimmers preparing for World Championship, SAG and Tokyo Olympics compelled to train in a substandard swimming pool. The ruling Nepal Communist Party has reached the intra-party power-sharing deal. Chairman duo KP Sharma Oli and Pushpa Kamal Dahal, along with leaders Vishnu Paudel and Rambahadur Thapa, had been holding marathon meetings for the past few days to finalize the party integration. The leaders close to leadership have claimed that the party integration process has been completed. The party integration process mainly hinged on the issues of appointing district in charges and their deputies in 77 districts. According to sources, the integration deal will now be endorsed by the party secretariat on the 21st of July and publicized the same day. Some 14 months after the unification, the ruling party has been able to finalize the integration process. The party has appointed carers who had executed the responsibilities as in charge for the former CPN-UML and CPN-Maoist Center in the party's district committee as in charge and deputy in charge in the new structure. As the current Nepalese fiscal year 2075-76 has come to an end, the status of the economy and development sectors portray a dismal picture of how the government has failed to fulfill its goals set for the fiscal year. The government has failed to reach the goals revised in the middle of the fiscal year, let alone achieve the ones announced at the parliament before the fiscal year had begun. The government had announced a budget of 1.13 trillion rupees for the fiscal year 2075-76, which included 845 billion rupees under a recurrent budget and 313 billion rupees for capital expenditures. However, since only 28% of the budget was spent in the first 5 months, the government revised and reduced the budget down to 1.1 trillion rupees through mid-year review. The two-thirds majority government, led by Nepal Communist Party, has failed to attain its revised goals. The government was able to spend only 2,320 million rupees of the development budget that directly concerns the general public. Meanwhile, the government spent 85% of the budget allocated for salaries, allowances and perks for public officials. 91% of the budget allocated for financial management and clearing debts was spent in the fiscal year 2075-76. The inability to spend allocated budget raises question on the government's work execution, which is why the government has continued with the trend of issuing checks and release payments in the last month of every fiscal year. Based on the government regulation, all organizations should close their accounts by the 25th of the last month of any fiscal year. However, the Financial Comptroller General Office itself released payments worth 24 billion rupees against regulations the day before. The government's revenue collection remained limited to 90% of its target, which is the lowest in 5 years. In the previous fiscal year, the government had collected 99.14% of the target revenue. Experts have opined the government's failure to give momentum to infrastructure development and economic prosperity and its failure to attain reviewed goals indicates the lack of expertise in bureaucracy. Moving on, a report by the National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) has concluded that the government officials themselves are involved in trafficking of women workers to prohibited countries. The Commission has concluded government officials have facilitated in sending women workers to prohibited Gulf countries illegally. The report named Non-Residential Workers Admission, Tradition and Access to Justice, prepared by NHRC, was released the day before. The Commission has urged the government to lift the ban on the Gulf destinations, which the Commission said could work towards curbing women trafficking. The Commission has stated the government prohibiting women from working as domestic helps in Gulf countries as a discrimination against women. The government had imposed prohibition on sending women workers to Gulf countries back in 2017 after a directive from Parliamentary Committee citing women had been victims of labor and sexual violence. The NHRC report states women are being trafficked to Gulf countries via risky routes in India and Sri Lanka as a result of the ban. Meanwhile, the Commission has urged the government to facilitate birth registration of children born to victims of sexual violence. The Supreme Court has upheld its earlier verdict of staying government decision not to conduct pesticide residue tests on fruits and vegetables imported from India. The joint bench of Justice Hari Krishna Kharki and Bamkumar Shrestha decided to give continuity to the interim court order issued on 10th of July to stay government decision not to hold the tests. Bishnu Prasad Timil Sinha and Kumari Kharel from the Forum for Protection of Consumer Rights had filed a writ against the government's directive to halt the tests, citing it increased risks on the health of the consumers. The government had issued an official notice on the 17th of June to carry out the pesticide residue tests, however had backed out of it on the 4th of July, citing inadequate infrastructures. A single bench of Supreme Court Justice Ananda Mohan had issued the interim order on 10th of July after a writ was filed against the government's decision to halt the tests. Some 24 national and international non-government organizations in Nepal have been found operating to earn profit, which is against the very norms of the sector. Based on the regulations of the Social Welfare Council, NGOs and NGOs are prohibited from conducting commercial activities. However, 24 social organizations have been found officially operating microfinance companies that carry out commercial and profit-oriented activities. Rural Volunteer Society Nepal, Creative Women's Environment Development Organization, Women's Rights and Development Center, Manushi Center, Kathmandu, Women's Ideal Service Center and Unique Nepal are among the 24 NGOs that have taken affiliations from the Social Welfare Council. However, these NGOs have taken approval from the Rashtra Bank to run microfinance that conduct commercial activities. Despite laws prohibiting, based on government data till January of this year, these NGOs have collected 12 billion rupees from 700,000 depositors. Likewise, according to government data, the NGOs have also deposited 1,360,000,000 rupees of profit. Meanwhile, the Social Welfare Council has maintained it is against the laws for any NGO to run commercial activities. NGOs have also been found running cooperatives. Official sources have said over 100 of the NGOs affiliated with Social Welfare Council have established cooperatives to earn profit through financial activities. The Cooperatives Department has received complaints of NGOs running cooperatives. However, the department has yet to initiate any investigation. Given that the country's legal system bars NGOs from carrying out income-generating activities, Rashtra Bank and the Department of Cooperatives should understand the nature of the organizations before handing out approvals. There is also a general call for the concerned authorities to initiate necessary investigations on financial institutions run by NGOs and members of NGOs. Moving on, the longest lunar eclipse of the year took place last night. Based on the astrological calculations, the eclipse took place between 1:46 a.m. to 4:45 a.m. This year's longest eclipse, also popularly referred in Nepalese calendar as the Khagras Chandragrahan, was visible from majority of the places across the country. The eclipse lasted for 3 hours. Lunar eclipse occurs when Earth comes between the Sun and the Moon and the Earth's shadow falls on the Moon. The eclipse began from eastern side of the Moon and slowly traversed towards the western end. Astrologers had suggested that it was best to avoid starting any new ventures during the eclipse period. In our Public Voice segment, we asked the people of Pastor what should be done to minimize the concept of completing works within the end of every fiscal year. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
उपभोक्ताहरूलाई उपलब्ध गराउने कार्यमा पनि समयमै उपलब्ध गराइएको खण्डमा त्यो कार्यहरू उचित समयमा भएर त्यसको फरछोट लिनको निमित्त पनि असार मसान्त पर्खिरहनु पर्ने अवस्था हुन्थेन।
भदौ असोजदेखि माघ फागुन हिउँदो महिनामा सक्ने गरी गर्न पाएदेखि झन् राम्रो हुन्थ्यो।
माथिबाट पठाउने बजेटहरू चाँडै पठाइदिए राम्रो हुन्थ्यो।
प्राविधिक क्षेत्रबाट नै समितिहरूले सम्झौता अलिकति ढिलो पाउने चाहिँ इस्टामेट ढिलो पाउने भएको कारणले चाहिँ एकदम आयोजनाहरू एकदम ढिलाइ भएको।
जुन साउन 1 गतेबाट सुरु हुन्छ र योजना फरक हुने बित्तिकै त्यहाँदेखि कामको सुरुवात गर्न चाहिँ अलिकति राम्रो भयो भने काम गर्न अलि सहज हुन्छ।
समयमै उपभोक्ताहरूले पनि आफ्नो विकासका कार्यक्रम सञ्चालन गर्न उपभोक्ता समिति गठन गरेर मङ्सिर पुस माघ फागुनतिरै यस्ता कार्य गर्यो भने यसको अन्त्य हुन सक्छ।
योजनाहरू लगायत छनौट गर्ने कामहरू र टेन्डर निकाल्ने कामहरू पनि भदौदेखि साउन अन्तिम अथवा भदौ पहिलो हप्तादेखि सुरु गर्यो भने मङ्सिर पुससम्म सक्न बाध्य बनाउने र बजेटलाई पनि यो जुन क्लोजिङको समयलाई पनि असार मसान्त नपारिकन चैत मसान्तमै सक्ने गरी चाहिँ राज्यले बनाउनुपर्छ।
It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, what is your take on non-government organizations operating cooperatives? Your options are A. Utilizing domestic resources, B. Profit-oriented thinking, and C. Mockery of laws. The voting is on. You can type any WS, select your option A, B or C, and then send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. With this, let us move on to the sports news.
Sports news.
The swimmers have targeted gold medal win in the upcoming 13th South Asian Games to be hosted by Nepal in 5 months' time. Nepal has never won a gold medal in the individual category. Despite big dreams, the Nepalese athletes have been forced to train under a small pool which hardly meets the international standards. The swimming pool at Sadabata complex, which was partially damaged during the 2015 April earthquake, has been repaired but is yet to be handed over. The delay has affected the Nepalese swimmers, who have been compelled to train under a relatively small private pool at the capital's Kala pool. The pool is 25 meters in length and 25 meters in width. In World Championship, athletes compete in pools having 50 meters in length and 25 meters in width. Swimming players are confused regarding their performance due to the lack of training facility at the current pool. There are 16 swimmers presently undergoing training for the upcoming World Championship, South Asian Games and Tokyo Olympics taking place next year. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin airs at 11 a.m. Keep watching Kantipur Television SD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day ahead.